There we go. All right. All right. I do believe this is live. Let me double check that we're rolling here this morning. Very good. All right. Happy Sunday for those of you who are already here. I'm just going to take a moment before we begin officially to double check that. There we go. It looks like I'm live. I love technology. I can watch myself on my phone as we speak. Very good. All right, we're on. So happy Sunday, everybody. So we're going to use today, obviously a chair, maybe the blanket on the seat. This is absolutely optional, of course. This is to either lift the hips a little bit or not quite flush with the edge of the chair, so that as I sit at the edge of the chair on the blanket, it is going to encourage my pelvis to tilt slightly forward. This can encourage us to help sit up tall. Very common when we sit in chairs for long periods of time. Gravity and forward flexion takes us into this rounded posture, which tucks the pelvis under, can cause a lot of discomfort, can sort of impinge on our ability to breathe deeply in the diaphragm. So by sitting at the edge of a little bit at the edge of the chair with that little lift into the sit bones, this might feel like a helpful practice. So our seated practice today, what I wanted to start with was some work on your fascia. And the fascia in the body is everywhere. It's your newest organ as of 2013. And for those of you who come to my in-person classes, you know how fascinated I am with this amazing stuff that separates and connects everything in the body. So there's thick organized lines of this fascia in the body. So there's a front line, back line, side lines, and a deep core line. So very common in the back line, this would be hamstrings, calf muscle, all the way up over the crown of the head, attaching under your eyebrows, is this long line of connective tissue, which if it's short and tight, can cause us a lot of sort of restriction in the back body, so hamstrings and such. So we're going to start with the feet today. This can encourage balance. So you want to think about your foot, all the fascia that starts in the bottom of the foot. It really is that foundation for our sense of stability. If we wear shoes all the time that are quite stable, creates a nice stability when we're walking, but it doesn't give the fascia a lot of movement. And movement is key for fascia to stay movable and flexible in the body. So for fascia work, you could choose, I've got a dowel here, which is just a fancy word for a stick. Super easy to find at hardware store. They'll catch you one really easy. You could use a tennis ball. You could use your frozen water bottle or a stainless steel water bottle that was round, anything that you could kind of roll under the foot. And so we'll take a moment to start with one foot. And as we do so, I'm going to talk a little bit about the fascia and some other ways that we can encourage it to stay movable and flexible in the body. So just choosing one foot and just start with some rolls under the foot. So whatever you're using, could be your tennis ball, could be a squash ball, could be your dog toy, could be a dryer ball. So I have my hands on my thighs, and I can press into them and hinge forward if I feel like I would like a little more pressure on the foot. So if it feels like you want a little more pressure, that's okay, you can do that. If it feels like it's too much, or you have a sensitive foot or a coming from an injury in the foot, I would encourage you to keep it really light and gentle. So just see, what do you sense in the foot? If you have some loss of sensation in the feet, just be extra gentle here. You might not realize how much pressure you're using. So you might get the outer edge of the foot, the inner edge of the foot. And then just see if we can find a place. My gal's going offline here. If you can find a place in the middle of the foot, sort of the arch of the foot, you could maybe add a little extra pressure. You can use a cleansing breath with a little forward folding position. A cleansing breath is usually in the nose, out the mouth. So it's going to look like this. I'm going to do 3 of them, taking a breath in. Exhale, hinging forward. Just see as you hinge forward, putting extra pressure in the foot. If it's too much, come out. When you're ready to come up, take a breath. Big soft sigh. Hinging forward. That's it. And then maybe one last time, coming up. Big soft sigh. Hinging forward. Just See what that's like. So by working on the bottom of the foot, we can start to gently lengthen that back line, so helping to gently lengthen the hamstring. Encourage balance. Encourage some awareness in the feet is really our foundation. You can move around a little bit here. And then you're ready to come up. We'll just take a moment pressing gently into the thigh bones to come up. Just be sure you avoid the knee. Sometimes I'll see people's hands are here. Middle of the thigh or closer to your body is a better, more stable part of the leg bone. So once you've done that one foot, you can take a moment to come off of your dowel. You might even look at your feet and notice if they look different. Mine do. You won't be able to tell, but one of my feet are different color now, slightly. And so I'll do the other side. Certainly if you were home alone or you're just doing this on your own, if you had a dowel, you could do both feet at the same time. But I just wanted to focus on one foot at a time here today. So you can kind of experiment with what you've got in your house that you could use for fascia work. They do make actual balls that have spikes on them. And I've even seen some wooden boards that have some sort of spikes and you just roll your feet on them, all really with the same intention, to encourage the fascia to stay hydrated. Really, it's the mesh that creates your posture. You think of this stuff, it's kind of like a framework of interconnected, slimy-like tissue that's allowing the body to move and slide. So what happens when fascia, either from injury, lack of movement, or just general aging, fascia gets a little bit more dehydrated, maybe a little tighter and stiff around an injury, so maybe even scar tissue. Scar tissue is fascia that's gone from movable and flexible. It is a protective sheath. So around an injury, fascia will go from a movable, flexible sort of web of tissue. It will get tighter as a protective mechanism in the body. So how do we keep the fascia hydrated? Massage, gentle compression, which is what we're doing with the dowel right now. So see if there's a spot now on the foot. It could be the middle of the foot. It could be somewhere different. Might be a little closer to the heel, might be a little closer to the ball of the foot, might be perfectly in the middle. Somewhere where you think you could explore adding a little extra pressure. So hands on the thigh, do our 3 cleansing breaths. Take a big breath in. Exhale, hinging at the hip. Hands support you on your thighs. See how you feel as you come forward. When you're ready to come up, take a breath. Exhaling forward. Good. And one last time. Inhaling up. And exhale forward. Yeah. I'm going to stay here for a moment, just checking in with your foot, your back, whatever is going on with you today, just checking in. And as you come up, you might just address the outer edge of the foot a little, rolling into the outer edge of the foot, inner edge of the foot. And so what we're using right now, we're using the dowel or your ball to create what we would call gentle compression of your fascial tissues in the foot. So anytime someone gives you a massage, or that would be gentle compression of tissues. Compression of tissues is generally a good thing when we're working with therapeutic ways to work with fascia. Not the same as compression of a joint. So compression of tissue is what kind of keeps it healthy and stimulated. Very good. So once we've come off of the dowel, you just take a moment to, or whatever you're using, you can just put that out of your way so it doesn't sit in your way. Very good. So I have these toe spacers on. You might not be able to see them too good, but they're these silicone spacers that I have in between my toes. They encourage them to spread out, which is really helpful for balance, especially if you find that your toes kind of grow together or you've got sort of a narrower foot. You can think of that narrowing of the foot and that sort of tightening up of the fascia on the bottom of the foot can really make it feel hard to root down through the feet. So what you can do here before we begin, just see if you can lift your toes up off the floor, gently spread them out, and then gently place them on the ground. Think of the mounds under your big toes, rooting down. Think of that length coming up the front body. Yeah. So we feel that sense of rootedness, groundedness as best you can in your feet. So the second way we're going to work with our fascia today is some tapping. So we're going to do some tapping, and then we'll take a moment to just observe any sensation that's come up. And then we'll do a larger movement for the lymphatic fluid, which all of your lymph fluid lives in your fascia. So it really is the tissue that is very embodied with water. Your body's water. And so we'll do some movements in order to stir up the fluids in the upper body. Once your feet are flat here, we're going to take open palms. We're going to just tap on the body. I encourage you to only do the areas of the body that feel like they've got some good fleshy bits, so you don't have to work with bones or anything like that. If you had an actual injury, you might just avoid that area. Some areas like inner and outer thighs, some people can be pretty assertive with this. So it's loving, kind, gentle tapping on the body. And then at the end of this, I'll invite you to kind of sit back, if you're comfortable closing the eyes, to take a moment to just see how the body feels after a little bit of work on the fascia. So open palms, starting with my thighs. I'm going to start with the inner thighs, top of the thighs, back of the thighs. Yeah, you might even go to the back of the calf muscle. I'm going to avoid the knee because it's a little sort of just bony. Good. Good. You might be a little more assertive in some of the thigh muscles here. As you come up to the rib cage, you might bring around just 1 or 2 fingers. And thymus tapping is really helpful for this whole area of the front body, and the thymus gland lives sort of under the breastbone here. And it's sort of that main center that helps your lymphatic system work. So that's our immune function. And so as you just gently tap around, I was thinking like a woodpecker, maybe 1 finger just tapping lightly. You can take your whole hand now and tap on the shoulder and down the arm, and then under the arm. That's it. Try the other arm, under. Very good. And then lastly, we'll go back to the side one last time, a little more assertively. Let's go. And then as you feel like you've had enough of that, as you slow it down. I'm just going to encourage you, if you're comfortable, maybe close the eyes for a moment to just check in with how you feel in this moment. Sometimes there's a little bit of a fuzzy sensation in the tissues after the tapping, depending on how you were tapping today. And if your eyes are closed, just take a moment here just to notice the sit bones on the chair, the feet on the floor, thinking of lengthening through the crown of the head, and then just checking in with your breath. So our main focus today on your breathing is to keep it easeful, gentle, and as deep as is comfortable for you. So as you breathe in, encourage the inner body to gently expand. You might feel the belly expanding, the chest expanding, maybe even the upper chest as you breathe in. And as you exhale, everything softens and gathers back towards your center. Your belly gathers, your ribs gather, your chest falls. So take 2 more breaths, just focusing on the expansion of the inner body as you breathe in, and that softening of the inner body as you breathe out. Encouraging all the muscles of your face to soften. 1 more. And to see if you can set an intention for your practice today. It could be very personal to you. Maybe to be more curious about movement, maybe backing off. Sometimes less force and less large movements can be really beneficial, especially if we're dealing with injuries. Very good. I'm going to start with our shoulders today. I'm just going to encourage you to 3 times, a little tension release. Allow your shoulders to rise up. On the exhale, just let them relax down. Maybe your face muscles softening. So notice that sliding quality, the shoulders sliding straight up and then straight down. So it's your fascia that allows this to happen. That sliding sensation in your body is all thanks to this fascial layer of connective tissue. It's really everywhere. Very good. Now the next movement will go into shoulder rolling. So see if you can now slide your shoulders a little bit up to your ears, a little back towards the back of your chair, down towards your sit bones, and a little bit forward. So going up, back, gently down and around. If you sense a lot of clunky, clicky bits in the shoulder, it's pretty common, then I would encourage you to do a smaller range of motion. So less can be more, especially if there is some fascial restriction. If you think about this fascia as that main protective layer in the body, if we've had an injury and it's really sticky and tight, and I do a really big motion, then the fascia might just stay quite tight and protective, knowing, oh, this is a large motion. I'm going to stay really tight. Sometimes if I take the movement, even though I can go really big and it's clunk, clunk, click in my shoulder, if I was to do a range of motion that felt gentle, really quiet, really easeful, what often can happen is then the fascia starts to relax a little bit more. You can stay with that ease and then maybe slowly progressing into larger movements. That's it. Last time, up, back, and down. And then elbow close, palms up here. It's encouraging the shoulders to slide down and under. Very good. And then the hands will come to your thighs. So the rocking chair, let's start with this as our first main physical movement. As a way to release your back, check in with your lower back. I'm going to sit sideways just to show you. It's easier to see myself sideways here. I'm still sitting on the edge of the blanket to help my pelvis tilt forward. Hands are on mid-thigh, so avoid the knee joint. Start at the mid-thigh, my knees under my ankle. As I sit up tall, big breath. As I hinge forward, just to a comfortable position for you. Pressing into the leg bones is fine. It's going to support your spine. You might lift the heels. This is going to add extra traction in your lower back. If that feels good, please feel free to do so. As you inhale, coming up, heels come down. As you lean back into the back of the sit bones, I'm going to encourage you to bring your chin a little bit towards your chest, just so we're avoiding strain in the neck. So just see if you can go through that motion a few times on your own. Think of a rocking chair. Rocking forward, heels lift. There's that lower back stretch. Coming up, heels come down. Chin a little bit to the chest, leaning back. This is going to stimulate some core connection. Just a little bit back and up. So you're essentially moving your pelvis, tilting the pelvis forward, heels lifting. That's it. Coming up, heels will come down. Chin into the chest, leaning back, toes gently lifting. That's it. One last time, take a moment to be aware of the sit bones. How does the body weight shift forward onto the sit bones, then up to center, and then back? Good. All right. And as you come back to center, you might gently spread out the toes once again. You've got the knee under the ankle. I'm going to take my hands right over to my knees here, and then I'm going to go into the cat-cow. So taking a breath in, allow your belly to expand, hands come towards you, sitting up as tall as you can. You might look up a little bit, be mindful of the back of the neck. So the breath in is here. As you exhale, the hands slide forward, but as I slide the arms forward, I'm leaning back. So there's that upper back slouch. Think of a cat stretching. So on the inhale, the hands slide towards the hips. The spine undulates into its fullest extension. Exhale, hands flight forward towards the knees, leaning gently back in the upper back, chin towards your chest. Try that a few more times. And again, if you feel there's a sensitive spot in your back, then take the movement and modify it, make it smaller. So maybe instead of going all the way back here, you pause here. So maybe you could even do it. So here would be a modified range of motion here, a little bit more gentle. That might be really important if you had a spinal injury, to start with really small, gentle movement of the spine. We're flexing and extending the spine. So just see what's comfortable for you today. That's it. Think of these movements as a way to help hydrate those inner tissues in the body all around the spinal joints. That's it. Good. So as you back to center, a little shoulder roll up, back, and down. A little shoulder shrug. Very good. So you take your hands to your knees, doing your first twist. So if you would like, you can link your breath to your movement, which means you'll move at your own pace. If I started at center, nice tall spine, taking a breath in, On the exhale, sliding the right hand towards your right hip, turning to the right. So notice that the head is turning with me. Inhale to center. Exhale to turn the other way. So looking over the other shoulder, or just go into a range of motion that feels nourishing for you. Inhale to center, lengthening. Exhale to gently turn. So we're priming the spine here. These first movements, priming the spine, that's it. Very good. Yeah, try one more on either side. Inhale to center and exhale to turn. That's it. Inhale to center and exhale to turn. Very good. As you come back to your first position, we're going to do a second twist, slightly larger, getting into some of the inner shoulder muscles. So we do this one. We've been doing this one every week. It's really beautiful movement. So I'm going to start with my right fingertips at my sternum. Elbow can float out to the side. And take my left arm and cross it over my right thigh. And so I'm going to slowly extend the right arm out to the right. I'm going to turn to look at my right thumb. Think of lengthening through the spine. Take a breath. On the exhale, I'm going to turn a little more to the right, follow the arm. Just go as far as is comfortable for you. See if you can take a breath here in your twist. Think of lengthening on your inhale. Very good. And then slowly coming back to your center, fingertips to sternum. We're going to go into a side bend on the same side. So we're still going to have the left hand across the right thigh. And if your shoulder allows, I'm going to encourage you to extend your right arm up in the air. So just notice if the arm is inching or the shoulder's inching up. Is there any way you can allow the shoulder to relax? It might mean that the elbow has to be a little bent. And if this does not feel comfortable to have your arm overhead, you could keep your arm at the side and side bend without the arm coming with you. That is fine, or even here. So again, use your comfort to guide you. If something's feeling uncomfortable or you have a restriction in your movement, I really encourage you to back off and just see if you can make the movement smaller or modify it to suit you. So if I sit up tall here, I'm going to take a big breath, rooting into both sit bones. I'm going to teeter a little bit over to the left, trying to keep both sit bones even on the chair. That right sit bone, when you lean to the right left, is going to want to lift. So I really want you to encourage you to only go so far you still feel your sit bones are even on the chair. And then come up, very good, and down. Very good, shake out the hands. Good, so we'll take your right hand across to the left thigh. Left arm is going to bring the fingertips up to your sternum. Slowly extending your left arm out to the side. Turn to look at your left thumb. Take a big breath. On the exhale, gently following. You follow behind you. Only go as far as you feel comfortable. Take a breath, lengthen through the spine. Very good. And then slowly come back. Fingertips to sternum. Elbow can come down. If you know that your shoulder does not want to go overhead, then you might even just stay here and do your side bend without the arm. If it's comfortable, you could extend your arm up in the air. Check in with that shoulder. Allow it to relax down. Take a breath, rooting into your sit bones. Tiny side bend over to the right. Keep those anchored sit bones here. Big breath. That's it. And then up and out. Very good. Shake out the arms. All right. So I wanted to do one more movement today that will help us warm up the lymphatic system. And it's kind of based on the breath of joy. And so it's a way to kind of get the arms moving, to get the lymphatic fluid moving through the upper body. And breathing is optional, so it might take a little bit of time to kind of get the breathing. Essentially, the arms at your side, they're going to swoop up in front of you, out to the side, and then maybe all the way up, palms face each other, and then they're going to swing down. So it's up, out, all the way up, and down. So I should say maybe forward, side, up, and down. So it's scooping forward, down to the sides, down, and then all the way up, palms face each other, and then chopping down. All right. So the breathing part of this, This might be something to experiment with. It's going to be one breath, but I kind of take it in 3 little sips, and I'm going to breathe in the nose in these little breathings like this. So I'm just going to quickly show you. And I always imagine I'm breathing belly, ribs, and chest, but essentially it's going to look like this. Sniff, 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 and then, okay. So it's one breath, but it's broken up into, okay. If the breathing feels uncomfortable or labored or in any way a little bit awkward for you today, then just breathing comfortably in a comfortable range of motion for yourself and then just focus on the arms, that's fine. So I'm going to work on seeing if I can do it 4 or 5 times. Anytime you feel you need a break, just take a moment and pause. So I'm going to take my arms to my side. Good. I'm going to take one big sigh breath in the nose, out the mouth. Good. When you're ready, inhale, arms in front, out to the side, up, and I'm going to do one more. Good. And as you come up, take a big breath. Very good. And then just see if you can keep your feet flat on the floor and see if your forearms can come and rest on your thighs. Or to take a moment in child's pose. So you might look straight down at the floor, or you might draw your chin into your chest a little just to encourage a little stretch in your neck. Encourage all the muscles in your face to be slack and relaxed, softening the jaw. And if you're comfortable here, you can do a little movement for your neck, going very, very slow, letting your chin move a little over towards one shoulder. Take a pause there and relax your face and your jaw. And then very slowly letting the chin come back to center, pause for a moment. And then in your time, maybe going to the other side. It could be a millimeter of movement, could be even less. And then back to center. And when you're ready, you bring your hands to your thighs, just gently pressing into the thighs to come up. I'll shoulder roll up, back and down. Elbows close, palms up. Very good. So a little warm up for the rotator cuff here. Maybe the hands can just float out, and you might notice the shoulder blades sort of winging here towards each other. This is a nice movement before we bring in some shoulder movements. Very good. Okay, so this time as you hold your opposite elbows, just see if you can invite in that movement side to side. Good. So experiment. If it's comfortable, maybe your arms go all the way around. Maybe not. Or maybe your circle is smaller in front of you. So I can do full range of motion if the shoulder is feeling comfortable, or modifying that into a smaller circle if that is feeling better for you today. Try the other direction. There we go. Set one more. Very good. Okay, wonderful. Good. And then take out your arms, take them out to the sides. Now we'll just take a moment to notice your shoulder and your upper body posture really is directed by the hand position. So as you roll your hands around, so the back of the hands are facing forward, chin in towards your chest, you can bring the backs of the hands together. And this will give you a little stretch again in the neck and the back of the shoulders. And then as you look forward, the arms come up. Very good. A little breaststroke here, scooping into the arms and then floating the arms forward. Just try that one more time. Palms turn out. Think of breathing into your rib cage like a bellows and floating the arms forward as the shoulders relax. One last time, scooping. So it's scooping the water into the armpits, floating the palms forward, and letting the hands relax to your knees. Very good. All right, so we'll warm up the hip joint now. So you've done quite a bit for your shoulder. Yeah. So let's just see about lifting the toes, lifting the heels. We did that a little bit. This is a great exercise for balance. Even doing it in a chair will encourage those front line and back line muscles around the foot and the arch of the foot itself to get some movement and strength. That's it. Very good. Okay, so as you put your foot down, we're going to lift the toes and turn them out. Lift the heels and turn them out. Lift the toes, turn them out. Lift the heels and turn them out. So see where you get to. You don't have to go farther than is comfortable for you, and then walk them back. Toes lift, come in. Heels lift, coming in. Think of this as a warm-up for your hip, your knee. So what you might sense here is noticing that as you turn your foot out, your knee, your leg bone, and your hip bone all externally rotate. There's neutral. There's external rotation and neutral. And everybody is going to be different with what works for your hip. That's it. So this is a really nice warm-up for the hip joint. Very good. Okay, so as you come back to your first position, we're going to find that wide angle. So the toes lift, the heels. So I would encourage you to find a wide angle that feels comfortable, where you have your knee relatively stacking under your ankle. You might have to readjust how you're sitting so you don't feel like you're falling out of your chair. So if this feels too wide, bring them in. Could look like a little V, could look a little bit wider for some bodies. Root down through the feet. Think of sitting up tall, lengthening through the crown of the head. All right, so we're going to do our second side bend. So I'm going to lean over to the right and see if it's comfortable to rest my forearm on the thigh. For me, this is comfortable. For a lot of people, this might not be. So you might use your hand and then you would be just a little less side bending. So just see what that's like. So you could just stay here and encourage the rib cage to open and take some breaths. If your arm and your shoulder allows, you can bring your left arm up, palm facing down, and just slicing the arm around towards that opposite knee. You might even have the chest open a little bit here. So this is one arm movement, sort of slicing it in front of you. The other movement is up and over. And that again will depend on your shoulder and whatever is your preference. Yeah, just one more time if you choose. Just know that you can leave anything out and observe. Giving yourself permission to do things that feel nurturing and nourishing for you today is really important. You're ready to come up. Take a moment, a little shoulder roll, a little shoulder shrug. Good. As you sit up tall, I'm going to gently lean over to the other side, letting the forearm rest on my thigh. Already feeling that sense of stretch on the side body. So then my opposite arm is going to come up and either slice around, or you can just keep it at your side and just breathe here. So just honoring your shoulder here and what works for you. You could go up and over. That's it. And then the last one might be that slicing around. That's it. Very good. Okay, you come up. I'm going to do one more movement with your wide angle. I'm going to take both hands up. I love this one because it stretches a little bit of the QL on that opposite side of the back. So with both hands up, I'm going to turn to my right side. I'm going to see how far my torso will turn to the right leg. Hands on the leg. And I'm just going to see where I can go comfortably. So you might go all the way down and you might not. So notice where you feel the stretch. You might feel it here. You might feel it somewhere else. Very good. Try that 3 times. One of my favorite morning stretches. That's it. Last time. That's it. Good. Why don't you come up, turning your torso back to center, palms face forward, turning the torso to the other side, hands on the thigh, and then just see where you get to. You might even, on the first one, be a little less range of motion. You might notice that by the third one, it feels a little more comfortable to go a little further sometimes. That's it. Good, last time. Very good. Wonderful. Good, and as you come back, we'll bring the feet in. Good, and just make sure you're comfortable on your seat here. And Oftentimes, once I'm sitting forward in the chair, if I'm feeling any sensation of discomfort or fatigue in the lower back, the first thing to do would be a little bit of traction for the lower back. So that's, again, holding the thighs or hands on the thighs, hinging forward, lifting the heels a little bit. So you might just take a breath here and just visualize creating a little bit of space in that lower lumbar area. And then when you're ready, coming up. And then as the heels come down, very good, little shoulder roll. Okay, so we're going to do one more movement here for the lower body seated, and then we're going to do some movement standing. And this might be, so two things that I had mentioned in the description would be either having a stretchy band, or if you don't have a stretchy band, a strap. Could be your house coat strap, could be a belt. Really, they all work. It's going to be a slightly different kind of sensation if you're using a belt. It's not going to give you that sort of bungee-like sensation. You will still feel the activation of the muscles. So whatever you've got, okay, we're going to do our final seated postures, and then we're going to come to standing. And I've designed these classes so that if you just want to choose to do the seated part of the practice, you can. If you want to just do standing, you can. If you want to do both. So I'm going to take my band and I'm going to put it under my right foot. So I'm going to stick to the right foot. Now I'm going to encourage you to put it under the ball of the foot, okay? And then extend your foot out. So the first thing I encourage you to do is hold sides of your strap or your band, and your elbows and stand tall, and then just see if you can push the foot towards the floor. And then the bungee, sort of your band, is going to help encourage the flexion of the foot. So this is a really helpful exercise if you have loss of range of motion in the foot for whatever reason. Working the muscles that we need so that when we walk, we don't trip on our own feet, essentially. Very good. Now encourage the toes to keep pulling back. Heels can stay on the ground. Yeah, I'm going to take a big breath. And I might hinge forward a little bit to get a little extra stretch here. Let's see what that's like to come a little bit forward to add some gentle stretch in the back of the leg. Wonderful. And as you come up, you bring the foot down, and we'll do the other side. So you're going to put your ball of your foot on the band, just under the ball of the foot, and extend it out. If you were using a strap, it would be the same idea, except instead of feeling that sort of bungee range of motion, you're going to pull on the strap to add a little bit of resistance and pull and release. So you could still use your strap if you don't have a stretchy band. But these are really helpful to have. So if you don't have one and you're curious, you can leave a question in the comments. I can suggest maybe where you could find one. That's it. It's very common. People have already had one. They're like, oh, I think I have one in my closet that my physio gave me 4 years ago. So if you do have one, use it. It's really helpful. All right, so as you pull the toes back, stretching out the leg on the floor, I've got my heel on the ground. I'm holding the band and kind of pulling it in towards me. Elbows are close to the body. Take a big breath. And then I'm going to hinge forward if possible. So I'm pulling the toes back towards me, gently hinging forward to stretch the hamstrings. Just a little more. We've already stretched them a little just by the ball rolling we did earlier today. That's it. Super. You ready? We're going to slowly come up. And we're going to bring the foot back and unravel. Very good. So next week, we're going to use these a little bit more. So again, you have a week to kind of find one. We're going to use them for some strength for lower body from seated. And so we're going to start to incorporate them into strength for some standing movements. We are going to use something, either a strap or a band standing today. So you might just keep it handy nearby. We are going to come to standing. So let's take a moment. Maybe shifting your feet a little closer to the chair. So I've got there's sort of my heels a little closer to the chair so I can press into the heels. And when I press into my heels, I can feel my sit bones kind of trying to get me out of the chair. The second missing piece of this is hinging at the hip crease forward. So as your nose comes over your knees, there's more weight in your feet. And then just see, you might need to use your arms. If you do, that's fine. You might reach your arms out in front of you to press into the legs to come up. Very good. Now, once you're up, really good habit to get into before you start walking, Take a moment to sink down into your feet. If you are barefoot or in your socks today, you can lift your toes, spread them out, place them on the floor. And then as you straighten the legs, think of pressing down through your heels. Your heels rooting down into the ground to give you a sense of stability. Shoulders rolling up, back, and down. Elbows close, palms up to encourage the shoulders to slide down and under. And then your arms to your side. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you now to take a position behind your chair. So however, or if you have a walker in front of you or a countertop, that might be fine too. It is really important that you have something nearby that's there for you if you feel a little unstable. So just go ahead and do that. Take a moment to move behind your chair. I'm going to move my chair out of the way for now just so you can see me. But pretend I've got my chair in front of me. So here's my imaginary chair that I could be holding. But it's just easier for you to see what I'm doing. And then make sure all of your props, it sounds obvious, but I tell you, I've tripped on my own props way too many times. Make sure you look down and make sure that your area where you're going to move, you set side step or forward step, that you have nothing in your way that's going to get in your way, except for the chair in front of you. Very good. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is just a little sense of balance, a little balance. So with your feet a little wider than hips. Yeah, very good. Good. I'm going to bend the knees a little bit. So think about that idea of, if you see a surfer on a surfboard, they always have a bend in their knees. And if you see someone on a tightrope, if they're walking and they start to get unbalanced, the first thing you see them do, essentially you're sinking your weight down into your feet. And so that's the idea of creating that little bend in the knees. So if you're ever in a moment of instability and you're feeling unbalanced, the best thing you can do at the very beginning, the little bend in the baby bend in the knees, think of sinking down through the roots in your feet. All right, so do that. And again, the bend in my knee is tiny, just enough to kind of sink my feet down. So even if you have grumpy knees, it doesn't have to be a huge bend. It's just that little baby softening into the knees. You might even spread out the toes here, making sure that you feel spaced out. Your feet are all spaced out and connected to the floor. And you might even be holding your chair now. We've been working with weight shifting. So just see how it feels to shift through center. So now all my body weight is on one foot. Shifting through center. Now my weight's even in both feet. And now my weight is more on the other foot. Yeah. So now just see, as you shift to the right, your left hand might be on the chair. Your right hand might be up. And just see if you can lift the left leg. And then slowly bend the knees, shift through center. Your right hand could come to the chair. Your left arm might reach up. Always think of Mary Poppins here. There's my umbrella taking me away. Bend the knees. We'll do that one more time, shifting. Maybe the leg lifts. It doesn't have to lift all the way. If this creates a sensation of discomfort in the knee, the ankle, the hip on that standing leg, then you might keep the toe on the floor and just feel with the weight shift without maybe lifting the leg. Okay, very good, wonderful. As you come back to your first position, very good, we're going to bring your feet to about hip width apart now. All right, very good. So we just take a moment to use your strap or your belt. So whichever you've got here, I'm going to use my strap. I'll use the strap just to show you. You could do both. They're going to both work for this. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to bring my arms really, really wide. This is a way for us to explore our shoulder, and this is a great posture exercise. So it helps prevent or sort of correct this kind of posture. And truthfully, we're all being sort of pulled forward. So this is called shoulder flossing. Key here, palms are down. If my arms are not wide enough, there is no amount of flexibility that's going to get my arm overhead. I really need to have my arms really, really wide so that I can get my shoulder to go overhead, even wider. Now, you might have some restriction. If you already know that your shoulder has an injury or a restriction, I'm encouraging you just to go where your shoulder goes without feeling any sort of sharp pain or discomfort, which means this movement for you might be just here. might be even less than that. And I find too that shoulders, if people have had an injury, sometimes it lingers a little bit, like frozen shoulder can get really frustrating for people. They really want that range of motion back. My encouragement to you would be to keep moving up to a range of manageable sensation. And that's it. Just keeping some positivity around that joint. If it goes all the way overhead, great. If it doesn't, not to worry. Go where you can. Very good. And then take a break. Doesn't take much for the shoulders to feel like they've been working hard. Very good. Okay, wonderful. So then I'm going to take a moment now. I'm going to use my stretchy band for the next one. And if you don't have a stretchy band, I'm going to encourage you to do the movement as if you had a stretchy band. So you're going to just imagine. Okay. So we've kind of warmed up the shoulder to work with posture. We want to open up the shoulder and kind of encourage some range of motion. And then there's kind of 3 movements that can be really helpful for helping the rotator cuff stabilize and then helping all the back muscles stay healthy and functional. So I will show you how to do it with the band and without. So I'm going to bring my elbows close, palms up. And we've done this today already. So rotator cuff motion. Think of the elbows staying close to the body and the forearm just moving out to the sides and back. And if you added the band, we're just adding a little gentle tension. So I've got my palms up, I'm gonna make a little fist, thumbs on the outside. And I'm just gonna gently pull and back to center. And we're just kind of awakening some of those back muscles and back together. I'm gonna do 2 more. If I do 4 and you wanna do 2, that's fine. That's it. I'm gonna do 1 last time. That's it. Okay. Just take a moment. A little shoulder roll, maybe a shrug. All right. So the next movement is my arms come in front of me. So I've got my elbows are a little bent, but my arm is fairly straight. I'm going to widen my hands a little bit. All right. And from here, I'm going to stretch my arms all the way out to the side. So I'm holding, palms are facing the ceiling in this movement. I was reading in one book, they called this the Cleopatra exercise, which I'm not quite sure why, but that's it. Good. Just try one more. So we're just kind of warming up those muscles today and just kind of connecting into some gentle strength. So again, if you didn't have your band, you would have your palms up. Pull the arms out to the side, back to center. So there would be the motion without. You still get benefit without the tension in the band. And the next movement, okay, same idea, except palms are down. So it's like essentially we're pulling out to the sides and back together. So if I've got my band, hands are shoulder width, shoulder height, maybe even a little wider, you can adjust that. You can take a breath in and a breath out. And you could do these seated if you choose to. Breath in and breath out. Do 2 more like that. See how that feels for you. Breath in and then out. Good. Last one. Breath in and out. Yes, very good. Shake out the arms. You can just let your band go somewhere, your strap out of your way. Very good. And then I'm going to encourage you to come to the side of your chair. So we're going to work with some side leg movements. So it's kind of helpful to have something nearby on your side. Might be fine to do this behind your chair, but we are going to let that leg move. And so you might want to stand at the side of your chair. Okay, just in case. It's always nice to have something nearby. Very good. So the first thing I'm going to do is sort of bend my knees, sink into the feet, lift the toes, spread them out, place them on the floor, press gently into the heels to come up with nice, strong standing legs. Yeah. And so you can hold the chair if you like. I'm going to shift my weight to the leg closest to the chair. So here's the key. If my standing leg is locked and really, really straight, it's actually harder to balance. If I kind of bend my standing leg a little bit, I feel like I have a little more stability in lifting that other foot off the ground. So just note the difference between a locked knee and maybe finding a little softness in that standing leg, okay? All right, so the first thing we're gonna do two movements here. First movement we're going to do is we're going to bring the leg up in front of you into sort of a 90-degree angle, rooting down through the heel of your standing leg. And then just see if you can let your knee float down towards the floor and back up. If you need a break, you might do one and need to take a moment to come off of your standing leg. Again, it's just really important that you find ways to move that challenge the body but don't cause you pain and strain. That's it. So we're kind of getting into the hip crease. So I'll just show you what that looks like from the side. Got the knee up. I'm going to kind of keep it in a 90-degree angle. So then I'm here, and then I'm back here. So it's a hip movement. And of course, we're creating a lot of strength from that standing leg. Good. Very good. Let's take a moment, bring the foot down. Okay, sometimes I'll shake out the foot I was standing on. Very good. All right. So the next movement I'm going to show you from the side. This is going to be a little easier for you to see. It's the same leg. So it's this same outer leg comes up. Okay. I'm going to let the knee float down towards the floor. I'm going to bend my standing leg a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to think of hinging at the hip. I'm just going to see if I can teeter forward. You might even have your toe on the floor. You might be more of a airplane position. Okay, so from the front, the knee goes down, bend your standing leg, hinging forward. Arms might stretch out. You might hold the chair the whole time for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Very good. Aha, good. Shake out your feet. Right. So we can take a moment to move over to the other side of your chair, either move the chair or walk around to the other side of your chair. Move it on the other side for me. Okay. First thing, bend the knees, sink into your feet, lift the toes, spread them out, place them on the mat. Press into the heels, come up with strong, straight legs. See how it feels to shift your weight to the leg closest to the chair. Then you can bend that standing leg a little bit. Bring the other leg up to a 90-degree angle. I like to flex my heel a little bit, if it's possible. I'll show you what that looks like from the side. Okay, this is a movement right from my hip. So I'm just sort of moving the knee down towards the floor. And then the knee comes back up in front. Down towards the floor. So here we're getting into the hip crease up to the front. Try that one more time. And up. Very good. And then as you place your foot down for a moment, just take a break for a moment. The next one is sort of a balance challenge, Warrior 3. So try the leg coming up. There's lots of different ways of doing this. We're going to do it slightly different next week. So then the knee comes down towards the ground. I'm going to bend my standing leg. I might extend the leg behind me a little bit. I'm hinging from my hip crease. So my back is not really doing the work here. I'm hinging at my hip crease to come forward. I've got a little bend in my standing leg. You could be holding the chair. Your arms might be out to the side for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Very good. And the foot comes down. Good. So that is a great way to create some stability and strength in the body, but it's also a great way to build bone density standing on one leg within a range that's comfortable for your joints. That's going to be different for everybody depending on what's going on for you in this moment. So let's do a final little spinal movement practice, and then that will take us back to our chair for a little relaxation. So I'm going to start with my feet about hip width apart. I just want to take you through a nice little warm up for your day here. So with the knees bent, I'm going to hinge at my hip crease. Okay. Hands on my thighs. I'm going to press into the thighs, reach the arms up and around. Bend the knees, hinging at the hips, and up and around. That's it. And try one more. Very good. Once the arms are out to the sides, I'm going to widen my feet a little bit. I'm going to bring my arms down. So the feet are still pointing forward. Big shoulder roll up, back, and down. So I want you to think of the spine lengthening towards the ceiling, lengthening up and just a tiny bit over to one side. So people often will kind of collapse over. I want you to think length through the crown of the head, even as you bend. So we're always creating length versus this, which is kind of really hard on the spine. So little movements are always better with spine at the first, just to check in. Think of lengthening through the crown of your head, up, 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 and a very tiny bit over. That's it. And then keep it going. If you want to add the arm reaching up and over, that might feel good for your body. I feel like I get a little taller every time I do this. So I'm reaching through the arm, lengthening, a little bit of a side bend. It's not huge. And up, that's it. Try one more time each side. That's it, last time. Very good. And then as your arms come down, we'll turn the feet out a little bit. So they can either turn out or they can be forward. It really is whatever is comfortable for your hips. And we're going to just let the arms twist around the body. So you might even start to lift the opposing heel a little bit here. You can let the arms tap around the sides of the body. So like gentle moving twists. Very good. And then just taking a moment in your time to pause at stillness. And you might close your eyes for a moment. So even just taking a moment to close your eyes, this might encourage a little more inward focus on the sensations in the inner body. If you close your eyes and that makes you dizzy, then definitely leave it out. Very good. And when you're ready, as you open your eyes, your feet come back to about hip width apart. On your way back to your chair, if you choose to think about this as a walking meditation, it doesn't have to be done this slow, but essentially what you can think of is the function of moving or walking is lifting the foot, moving the foot, placing the foot, stepping, lifting, moving, placing, stepping. It's really challenging to do it slowly, lifting, moving, placing, stepping, lifting, moving, placing, stepping. I'm going to encourage you to continue on with that focus on noticing how you lift the foot, move it, place it, and the weight shifts and transfers from one leg to the other, lifting, moving, placing, stepping. And then just taking a moment to come around to the front of your seat. So we just have enough time here to one more little seated movement. Very good. Okay. And then as you come around to the front of your chair, I'm going to encourage you to maybe sit all the way back in the chair. So you can sit all the way back this time. You don't necessarily have to sit forward. You can let your back be supported by the chair. That's it. Very good. So once you are seated, feeling the floor beneath you with your feet and your sit bones on the chair. You might even let your right hand or your left hand palm up and then your other hand on top and the thumbs touch. Sometimes a nice way to let the shoulders and the arms relax here. If you choose, you might close your eyes. And if that does not feel great for you, having the eyelids lower so that you're just looking softly down at the floor, just to allow our awareness to just gather a little more inwardly for a moment. Once again, just going back to your breath, noticing the expansion of the inner body as you breathe in. And that sort of softening and gathering of the body as you breathe out. Just noticing your comfortable breathing pattern. Softening the jaw and the face. noticing how it feels to really give into the support of your chair. Encourage your jaw to soften, the head just floating lightly on your neck. Noticing the temperature of the room you're in on your skin, and noticing the sounds around you in the space that you're in. So I wanted to share a short poem with you before we go today. And this one is called Love is Medicine. And the theme of this poem is joy. There is joy in the small things of your life. A stranger's smile, arriving on time, the feel of the wind, a completion of a task, your very next breath. So take a moment to savor the small, fine details that take up the spaces of your life. Let joy sink in deep to your heart space and appreciate its presence. You might take your hands to your heart center, taking a moment to thank yourself for showing up to practice. A moment of gratitude for all your body does for you. And maybe one thing you're grateful for in this moment. I thank you so much for your practice today. If you like this practice, we're going to add in a little bit more of the stretchy bands next week. So again, it might be something to consider purchasing or obtaining in some way, and something for your fascia. We're going to start again next week with the fascia work on the foot. And if you have questions, you can leave them in the comment section. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next week, I hope. I think my camera operator's here again next week, so I'll have better sound, better camera. Bye, everybody.